Welcome to Midnight Mindset. You made it here again, maybe by accident. Or maybe not. Let me ask you something. Have you ever shaken someone's hand without thinking why? Have you ever clinked glasses before drinking, never questioned it? Lit a candle on a cake, blew it out with a wish, and called it tradition? Because sometimes what you think is just habit is actually ritual. And the things you do every day, your greetings, your celebrations, your customs, they're not just quirks of modern life. They're echoes from the past. Whispers from ancient worlds. Rituals so deeply buried, we don't even realize we're still doing them. Tonight, we uncover the hidden ceremonies woven into your daily life. The ones passed down through bloodlines. The ones you inherited, but never chose. You might recognize one. You might recognize all of them. Because the truth is, you're not just living in the modern world. You're still living in the ancient one. Did you ever wonder why we shake hands when meeting someone new? Or why we toast before drinking? These aren't just polite gestures, they're echoes of ancient rituals. Every day, we unknowingly carry out traditions that date back thousands of years, passed down through generations without us even realizing it. Think about this: the way we celebrate birthdays, how we eat certain foods during holidays, even the way we decorate our homes, all of these behaviors have roots in ancient cultures. But here's the question: if these practices are so deeply ingrained in our daily lives, what else might we be doing without knowing their origins? And more importantly, why do they still matter today? Let's take something as simple as a handshake. It may seem like a modern gesture of greeting, but its origins trace back to ancient Roman Greece, where warriors would extend their right hand to show they weren't holding a weapon. This was a sign of peace, a ritual meant to establish trust. Fast forward to today, and we still use it as a way to greet people, negotiate deals, or seal agreements. So, ask yourself, when you shake someone's hand, are you really just being polite, or are you unconsciously following an age-old ritual meant to prevent violence? What other traditions are we carrying out without questioning them? Why do we blow out candles on a birthday cake? Why do we ring bells at weddings? These customs didn't appear out of nowhere, they were once sacred rites with deep symbolic meaning. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden history behind the everyday things we do, revealing how much of our modern world is still shaped by ancient beliefs. Ancient origins of handshakes and toasting. The handshake has long been seen as a symbol of trust and respect, but its origins tell a different story, one rooted in survival. According to Dr. Sarah, an archaeologist and historian, the handshake was not merely a social formality but a practical measure to ensure safety. But the handshake wasn't the only ancient ritual designed to build trust. Consider the tradition of toasting before taking a drink. Many believe it started in the Middle Ages as a way to ensure no poison was in the wine. When two people clinked their glasses together, some of the liquid would spill into the other's cup, proving that both drinks were safe to consume. As Professor Brian Farrell notes in his research on medieval customs, this practice wasn't just about camaraderie, it was a literal test of loyalty. If you trusted someone enough to share your drink, you were willing to risk your life alongside them. Even today, we maintain these gestures without fully understanding their origins. When we raise our glasses in celebration, are we subconsciously reaffirming trust? When we shake hands at a job interview, are we still signaling that we come in peace? These ancient customs have evolved, but their core purpose remains unchanged: to create a sense of connection, security, and shared intent. So next time you shake someone's hand or raise your glass in a toast, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I simply following etiquette, or am I participating in a ritual that has stood the test of time? What other remnants of ancient life are hiding in plain sight? The symbolism behind birthday candles and celebrations. Now let's turn to one of the most universal celebrations, birthdays. Have you ever wondered why we light candles on cakes and make wishes before blowing them out? This seemingly innocent tradition actually has deep mythological and religious roots. In ancient times, fire was often associated with the divine. The Greeks, for example, believed that lighting candles represented bringing light into darkness, a metaphor for life emerging from death. They would offer round honey cakes adorned with lit candles to honor Artemis, goddess of the moon, believing that the flames carried their prayers to the heavens. Similarly, the Romans celebrated birthdays with elaborate ceremonies, especially for emperors and gods. According to historian Dr. Emily Johnson, Roman elites saw birthdays as a way to affirm power and divinity. Emperors like Augustus even declared official birthday festivals to reinforce their godlike status. Over time, this practice trickled down to the general population, evolving into the personal celebrations we know today. Then there's the act of making a wish before blowing out the candles. This custom likely stems from medieval European folklore, where people believed that smoke carried wishes to the spiritual realm. Some cultures even thought that if the candles burned evenly, the wish would come true, an early form of superstition tied to fate and fortune. But wait, why do we celebrate individual birthdays at all? In many ancient societies, particularly in China and Egypt, birthdays weren't widely observed except for royalty. The Egyptians, for instance, considered a person's birth as the day they ascended to godhood, marking it with grand ceremonies. Meanwhile, early Christians avoided celebrating birthdays due to pagan associations. It wasn't until the rise of secular culture and industrialization that birthdays became a mainstream tradition, fueled by commercial interests and the desire to personalize identity. So the next time you blow out your birthday candles, consider this: you're not just indulging in a sweet treat, you're participating in a centuries-old ritual that once held cosmic significance. How much of what we do today is truly original, and how much is borrowed from the past? Wedding traditions rooted in antiquity. Weddings are among the most ritualized events in human history, filled with traditions that feel timeless. But how many of those customs do we follow without understanding their origins? Let's start with the veil. Today, it's often seen as a fashion statement, but in ancient Rome, brides wore veils made of flame-colored fabric called flammeum to ward off evil spirits. Anthropologist Dr. Helen Morris explains, the veil wasn't just decorative, it was protective. Brides were believed to be vulnerable to supernatural forces, so covering the face was a way to shield them from harm. Then there's the tradition of wearing it something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. This rhyme dates back to Victorian England, but its components have deeper historical significance. Blue symbolized purity in many ancient cultures, including Israelite and Islamic traditions. Borrowed items were meant to pass on good luck from married friends, while old and new elements represented continuity and change. As folklorist Dr. Alan McFarlane notes, these small objects weren't random, they were talismans meant to ensure marital success. And what about the wedding ring? Though now a universal symbol of commitment, its origins lie in ancient Egypt, where rings made of braided reeds or leather were exchanged as tokens of eternity. The circle had no beginning or end, representing the unbreakable bond between partners. Later, the Romans adopted gold and iron rings, with the iron symbolizing strength and the gold symbolizing wealth. Perhaps the most surprising tradition is the ringing of bells at weddings. While today it's often used to announce the couple's union, bell ringing historically served a different purpose. In medieval Europe, bells were believed to scare away malevolent spirits that might interfere with the marriage. Church bells were rung loudly during ceremonies to ward off demons, ensuring that the newlyweds began their life together free from supernatural interference. Even the white wedding dress, now synonymous with Western bridal fashion, is a relatively recent invention. Before Queen Victoria popularized it in the 19th century, brides wore a variety of colors based on regional customs. However, white had symbolic ties to purity and fertility in many ancient religions, including Hinduism and Greek mythology. So, as you walk down the aisle, remember that every step you take is part of a long lineage of rituals meant to protect, bless, and sanctify love. But how much of what we do is still meaningful, and how much has become mere performance? Food and feast rituals across cultures. Food has always been more than sustenance, it's been central to ritual, religion, and community. From ancient harvest festivals to modern holiday meals, our relationship with food is steeped in symbolism. Take Thanksgiving, for example. While it's commonly associated with pilgrims and turkeys, its roots go much deeper. Long before Europeans arrived in America, indigenous peoples held seasonal feasts to give thanks for successful harvests. The Wampanoag tribe, who shared the first Thanksgiving meal with the Pilgrims, already had established rituals of gratitude tied to the land and sky. Across the world, similar traditions existed. In ancient China, the Mid-Autumn Festival revolved around mooncakes, which symbolized unity and prosperity. The circular shape represented completeness, and families gathered under the full moon to share food and stories. Similarly, in ancient Rome, Saturnalia was a festival of feasting and revelry, where social roles were reversed and slaves dined with their masters. This inversion of hierarchy was meant to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture, and remind society of the cyclical nature of power. Religious traditions also played a major role in shaping how and when we eat. In Christianity, the Eucharist involves consuming bread and wine as symbols of Christ's body and blood, a ritual that mirrors ancient sacrificial feasts. Likewise, in Hinduism, food offerings known as prasad are given to deities before being consumed by devotees, reinforcing the idea that food is a divine gift. Even the way we prepare food carries ancient significance. For instance, the breaking of bread, common in Christian communion, is a direct descendant of Jewish Passover traditions, where unleavened bread symbolized haste and faith. In many African cultures, communal cooking and sharing of food is seen as a spiritual act, reinforcing bonds between family and ancestors. So the next time you sit down for a holiday meal, ask yourself, are you simply enjoying food, or are you participating in a ritual that has been performed for millennia? What does our continued adherence to these customs say about our need for connection, memory, and meaning? The living legacy of ancient rituals, from the way we greet each other to the way we celebrate life's milestones, we are constantly echoing the past. These rituals, whether they involve a handshake, a toast, a candlelit cake, or a wedding vow, are not just relics of history. They are living expressions of human culture, passed down through generations, adapting yet persisting. They connect us to our ancestors, to our communities, and to something greater than ourselves. Think about that the next time you perform one of these acts. Is it just habit? Or is it something deeper, an unconscious acknowledgement of the wisdom embedded in these traditions? As anthropologist Joseph Campbell once said, ritual is the enactment of myth. And in every handshake, every toast, every birthday wish, we are enacting myths that have shaped humanity for thousands of years. So here's the final question: if we are still practicing ancient rituals without realizing it, what other traditions are we unconsciously preserving? And what will future generations think of the customs we hold dear today? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the hidden history of our everyday actions, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments, what modern ritual do you think has the most fascinating origin? See you in the next one.